My name's Nathan. I'm 40, originally from a small town in Iowa, and I've spent most of my life believing that if you're steady, if you're loyal, hardworking, predictable in the right ways, then life will be kind to you. Maybe not glamorous, maybe not thrilling, but fair. That's the life I built. Not perfect, but stable. I thought that was enough. After college, I landed a job in logistics and worked my way up. It wasn't flashy, but it paid well and kept the lights on. I managed inventory systems, mapped routes, tracked delays. It was a numbers game, and I was good at it. I like being useful, like solving problems. My job was like my life, ordered. Efficient. Understandable. Haley, my wife, was always more outgoing than me. We met during our sophomore year, both of us volunteering for the same campus event. I remember thinking she was out of my league. She had this magnetic energy that pulled people in, smart, funny, ambitious. The kind of woman who made strangers feel like old friends. Somehow I made her laugh. We clicked. By the time we graduated, we were practically inseparable. We got married a few years later, bought a modest 2-story home just outside Atlanta, and settled into a life together. Nothing extravagant. Just consistent. Haley took a job at a large corporate medical supply company, modern building, lots of perks. Her company had yoga classes on-site, catered lunches, and one of those open office plans with glass walls and snack bars on every floor. They hosted team-building events, gave out free water bottles, even had Wellness Wednesdays where everyone got a massage or smoothie coupon. Very on-brand for her. She loved the buzz of it all. Me? I preferred our quiet rituals, our Sunday morning coffee, walks in the park, grilling ribs on the weekend while she danced barefoot on the patio to some indie playlist I didn't recognize. We were opposites in some ways, but we balanced each other. At least, that's what I thought. Things started shifting slowly, so slowly I almost missed it. About a week ago, Haley came home from work and casually mentioned that her office would be closing for a few months. Renovations, she said, slipping off her heels and kicking them toward the closet. They're updating the building. We're all being moved to a temporary co-working space downtown. Should be kind of fun, closer to some good lunch spots. I remember nodding, asking her if she needed help packing up her desk. She laughed and waved me off. Nah, they're having a moving crew do it. We just take what we need. Everything else gets stored until it's finished. The next day, she left earlier than usual. New commute, she said. She looked good put together, a little extra mascara maybe. She kissed me on the cheek, mumbled something about a presentation she had to lead, and rushed out the door with her phone already glued to her hand. I wish I could say that was the moment I knew. It wasn't. Not exactly. But it planted a seed. Something about the whole setup felt off. I'd worked in enough buildings to know that renovations don't happen overnight. You don't just shift an entire team to a new address without weeks of prep. There was no moving truck, no memo left on the kitchen counter, no talk of frustration with IT or lost supplies, just the seamless relocation that didn't feel real. Maybe it was boredom. Maybe it was instinct. Or maybe it was the way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes when I asked about it later that night. Whatever it was, I got the idea to do something spontaneous. Romantic, even. I called in a favor from one of our delivery guys at work, Rob, a part-timer who owed me for covering his shift last month. I borrowed a uniform, packed a box with her favorite candy bars, and slipped in a handwritten note. Hope your day's going sweet. Love, N. I even added one of those dumb little doodles she used to love, stick figures holding hands, my lame attempt at whimsy. The plan was simple: walk in like a courier, drop off the surprise, and maybe catch a glimpse of her smile when she opened it. No drama, just a reminder that I was thinking of her. When I arrived, the building was sleek and modern, nothing like a temporary co-working space. It had a valet, a minimalist glass lobby, and a digital check-in system. I punched in Haley's company name and was granted access to the 3rd floor. The receptionist barely looked up as I passed. And that's when everything started to unravel. The 3rd floor was buzzing. Not under construction. Not closed off. No ladders, no plastic tarps, no "pardon our dust" signs. Just rows of open workstations, chatter, and conference rooms with transparent walls. I stood still for a moment, trying to understand what I was seeing. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't a move-out zone. This was her real office. Fully functioning. Familiar. Then I saw her. Haley was sitting in one of the glass meeting rooms, her laptop open but ignored. She was angled toward a man I didn't recognize, well-dressed, clean-shaven, maybe mid-30s. His hand was resting on her knee. Not casually. Not briefly. Comfortably. In asterisk mately. She was laughing at something he said, full smile, head tilted back just slightly, the way she used to laugh at my dumb jokes. I felt frozen. Not angry. Not even hurt yet. Just disconnected. Like I had slipped into the wrong version of my own life. I stood there, holding the box like it weighed 100 pounds, watching the woman I married lean into another man's space like it belonged to her. They didn't see me. Or maybe they did and didn't care. I don't remember walking away. I just know that at some point I set the box down on the receptionist's counter and mumbled something about a delivery. She didn't even look up. I didn't wait to see if Haley got it. Didn't ask for a signature. I took the elevator back down in silence, stepped out into the bright Atlanta sun, and sat in my car with the air conditioning blasting against skin that had gone suddenly cold. I didn't cry. I didn't call her. I didn't scream. I just sat there with my hands gripping the steering wheel, heart thudding like I'd just run a mile uphill. And all I could think was, that wasn't a one-time thing. You don't get that comfortable with someone overnight. Whatever this was, whatever she was doing, it didn't start yesterday. And I had no idea how long I'd been asleep at the wheel. I didn't sleep much that night. Haley came home around 7:30 like nothing had happened. She dropped her purse on the kitchen island, kicked off her heels, and greeted me with a kiss on the cheek like she always did. I played along. Asked her how the new office was. She said it was all right, a little cramped, kind of weird energy, you know? I nodded, smiled. Said something about ordering Thai food. I don't even remember what I ate. She didn't mention the candy or the delivery. She didn't ask if I'd done anything out of the ordinary. Either she never got the box or she got it, recognized my handwriting, and pretended she hadn't. That night, I lay beside her in bed, staring at the ceiling while she scrolled through her phone. She angled the screen away from me like she always did lately. Then she rolled over and muttered a soft goodnight. I said it back. Mechanical. Cold. But in my mind, something had already snapped loose. For years, I had trusted her without question. We shared everything: bank accounts, vacation plans, Spotify playlists. I never felt the need to check her phone or second-guess her stories. She had a work life and a social life, and I respected that. Maybe too much. But now, the simplest details made my stomach twist. The way she started leaving the room to take phone calls. How her screen went dark when I walked in. The sudden late nights. The spa weekends with friends I never saw anymore. Ashley, her best friend, was supposedly always around, but when I texted Ashley out of nowhere, she didn't answer for hours. Then finally replied with, "Oh, Haley mentioned something, I think. Sounds fun." That "I think" felt like a lie scrambled together too late. And her phone, it used to sit on the nightstand. Lately, it was always in her hand or shoved in a bag with the notifications turned off. One morning I saw she had put a password on her lock screen, new one. I casually asked about it. She said something about work security updates and changed the subject before I could blink. That's when I started keeping notes. Not in a notebook, too obvious. Just a draft in my email. A little timeline. Dates, times, things she said, where she claimed she was. I'd matched them against my calendar, bank charges, old texts. Nothing too invasive. Not yet. But I was trying to draw a map of where things had gone off course. Once she came home late on a Thursday, said she had drinks with coworkers after a mandatory training. But when she went to bed, I checked our shared calendar. No mention of it. Then I checked her company's event page, something I'd never done before, and found nothing scheduled for that night. Just a regular workday. Another time, I passed by the bathroom while she was on the phone, the door cracked open. She was whispering, laughing in that soft, teasing way that used to be just for me. Then she caught a glimpse of my shadow and her tone shifted instantly, flat, cold, professional. "Yeah, I'll get back to you on that." And click. I didn't confront her. I told myself maybe I was paranoid. That I didn't have proof. But the doubt was spreading through my chest like mold in the walls. Every interaction started to feel like a performance. One Saturday, she said she was going to a spa with the girls, an overnight retreat. No phones, all detox. "Don't wait up," she'd said, smiling over her travel mug. "I'm gonna unplug." Something about the way she said it made me want to punch through the drywall. She left wearing her most expensive yoga set and carrying a duffel bag that didn't look like it had anything spa-related in it. When I asked which spa, she waved it off. "One of those new ones by the mountains. Ashley booked it. You know how she is. Last minute everything." That weekend I didn't call, didn't text. I waited. When she came back Sunday evening, she looked off. Tired, but not like someone who just had a relaxing time. Her voice was soft. Her stories were vague. She mentioned a sound bath, a hike, some incredible massage. But she kept pausing, like she was reciting from a script she hadn't memorized well enough. Later that night, I stepped out to take out the trash. That's when I heard her in the kitchen, leaving a voicemail. I should have walked away, given her privacy. But I didn't. Her voice was light, happy. I just wanted to say today was magical. Seriously. Thank you. I didn't know I needed that. Talk soon. Click. I waited a second, then walked in like I hadn't heard anything. Who was that? I asked, pulling the fridge open. She blinked, like she didn't expect me to be back so fast. Ashley, she said too quickly. She left her water bottle at the spa. I nodded and grabbed a soda. Cool. You two have fun. She smiled and opened her laptop. Yeah, totally. The rest of the night felt like cardboard. She was there but not really there. We watched a movie, but she kept checking her watch. I reached for her hand, and she let me, but it felt like someone holding on to a stranger out of obligation. I tried to sleep. I really did. But I lay there with my eyes open, wondering how many times I'd been lied to and smiled through it. Over the next few days, I started noticing patterns. The same number kept calling her. Always late, always silenced. I caught a glimpse once. Just the last 4 digits, but they stuck in my brain. I ran a reverse lookup online, something I never thought I'd do. It was registered to a consulting firm in Midtown. Nothing I recognized, but it gave me a thread. The next morning, she mentioned someone named Trevor in passing. Said he was helping out with brand integrations. I'd never heard his name before, but when I looked up the firm from the call records, his name popped up right on their team page. Business development, partner level. Smiling in a crisp shirt next to words like innovation, growth, and strategic insights. Suddenly, a lot of things made sense. I didn't lose my temper. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I opened a folder on my desktop, titled it Insurance, and started filling it. *TS. Phone logs. Notes. I wasn't going to be the guy who screamed and got thrown out of his own house. I was going to be the guy who watched and waited. I stopped trying to fix things. Stopped trying to reconnect. Because deep down, I already knew. I wasn't her partner anymore. I was just the man she practiced lying to. The attic was the one part of the house Haley never touched. Too dusty, she said. Too cluttered. We kept all the stuff up there that didn't have a place. Christmas lights, suitcases, boxes of books we never opened. And an old laptop. Hers. She told me years ago it didn't work anymore. Battery fried. One of those sleek silver models from when she was still freelancing in marketing. I hadn't thought about it in years. But that night, after she fell asleep with her phone clutched to her chest and her back turned to me, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something I was supposed to find. So I went looking for ghosts. I pulled the attic ladder down around 2 a.m. The wood creaked under my weight as I climbed. Everything was exactly where we left it, layers of dust giving each box a kind of quiet dignity. And there it was. The laptop, buried beneath an old coat and a suitcase full of winter scarves. I carried it downstairs like it might break under my hands. Plugged it in. Pressed the power button, not expecting anything. It booted up. No password. Just like that, I was inside. Took me a minute to find what I was looking for. She hadn't used it recently, but there were saved passwords. Auto-logins. Old emails cached and draft messages she never sent but couldn't quite delete. The first thing that caught my eye was a folder labeled Personal. Buried inside was a string of emails to someone named Trevor. That name again. Some of them were mundane meeting confirmations, shared spreadsheets. But the further I scrolled, the more the tone shifted. They weren't just colleagues. They weren't even just flirting. This was something else. There were photos. Not the kind you post on Instagram. These were private. *mate. Her in a hotel bathrobe with champagne on the nightstand. A rooftop dinner table lit by candles and city lights. A blurry selfie of them in a car. His arm draped over her shoulder like it belonged there. One that looked like it was taken in a bed. Just their heads on pillows, smiling impossibly close. I sat there in the dark, not moving, not even blinking. My heart felt like it had gone underwater. Slowed, heavy, distorted. Then I clicked on the voice memos. There she was. Her voice, but not the version I knew. This was her unfiltered, playful, relaxed, almost breathless with affection. "Hey you," she said in one. "I can't stop thinking about this morning. Every time I try to focus, I just keep replaying it. I don't even care if it's wrong. Feels so good. You make me feel." Pause. "Alive." Another message. "Nathan thinks I'm in a training today. You have no idea how easy it is to fool him." That one hurt the worst. She didn't just lie. She mocked me for believing her, for trusting her, for being the man who never thought he needed to look over his shoulder. I didn't slam the laptop shut. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there. I don't know how long. The clock on the microwave said 3:48 when I finally moved. My legs felt numb. I copied everything onto a flash drive. Photos, messages, memos. Then I created a backup cloud folder and encrypted it. Redundant, maybe, but I wasn't thinking clearly. Or maybe I was thinking clearer than I ever had. When I was done, I stared at the screen until it dimmed, the ghost of her voice still echoing in my ears. "You have no idea how easy it is to fool him." I knew then that the version of Haley I loved didn't exist anymore. Maybe she hadn't for a long time. Maybe she was someone I invented. Or maybe she changed piece by piece while I wasn't looking. The woman in those emails, laughing in a hotel bed, whispering secrets behind my back, that woman wasn't my wife. And still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to be smart. The next day, I took a long lunch break and drove to a law office recommended by one of my coworkers. A guy who'd gone through a rough divorce 2 years ago. Said this attorney was discreet and sharp, the kind of woman who didn't flinch when things got ugly. She listened as I laid it all out. No embellishments, no self-pity, just the facts. When I finished, she folded her hands and asked, "Do you have proof?" I slid the flash drive across the table. "Everything's on there." She didn't open it, just nodded and tucked it into her folder. "Okay," she said. "Then we don't wait. We prepare." We mapped out a strategy. Quiet, methodical. I wasn't looking to blow up Haley's life. I just wanted mine back. On my terms. Before I left, she looked at me and said, "I'm sorry this happened to you." I didn't respond. I didn't know how. I just shook her hand and walked out. The Georgia sun suddenly too bright. That evening, Haley came home like clockwork. She made salmon, asked about my day, played a podcast while chopping vegetables. She kissed my shoulder when she passed behind me at the kitchen island. I looked at her like she was a stranger, because she was. The rest of the night played out like a script, couch, show, small talk, bed. She fell asleep before me. I stared at the ceiling again. But this time I wasn't lost. I was calculating, because if she could build a secret world behind my back, I could build a way out. And I had just beg asterisk n. After that night with the laptop, something in me hardened. Not in a loud way, not with anger or outbursts, but in silence. Like stone cooling in the dark. There was no screaming, no late-night confrontation, no melodrama in the kitchen. Haley still thought she was winning. Thought I was oblivious. That was fine. Let her think that. Let her believe I was the same man who kissed her forehead every morning without asking questions. That version of me was already gone. I didn't know exactly how long this had been going on. But the pattern was clear. She had carved out an entire second life in the quiet gaps of hours. Her phone habits, her fake meetings, her vague weekend plans, they weren't just blips. They were a structure, and Trevor was at the center of it. I started gathering more. Not obsessively, just steadily. Phone bills, car mileage, work calendars, things she probably never expected me to look at. I found inconsistencies. A trip to Ashley's that coincided with a hotel reservation under her work email. A business dinner she mentioned that didn't match her company's official calendar. Even the name Trevor appeared in a few tagged expenses on her credit card. Shared Ubers, joint reservations, a charge from a wine bar neither of us had ever been to. I took *TS, backed up everything. My life began splitting in two. In front of Haley, I played my part. I still asked how work was, still poured her coffee, still laughed at her stories even when they felt like glass in my mouth. Every little detail, every move she made, I logged it. She thought I was still trying. That I was just a little quieter than usual, maybe a little tired. Behind the scenes, I was building a clean exit. A lawyer. Financial review. Backups of every file and record. Copies of joint documents. I even visited the bank one afternoon and quietly updated the contact information on one of our secondary savings accounts. Not to hide anything, just to draw a line. There was a strange power in it, not in revenge, but in readiness. It's not that I didn't feel anything. I did. Plenty. But what I felt wasn't the kind of emotion that makes you cry or rage. It was deeper. Cold, steady grief that moved like a tide. I was mourning something I hadn't even buried yet. The marriage was still breathing on the outside. But I had already planned the funeral. One night, Haley sat down next to me on the couch and leaned her head against my shoulder. Just like old times. We were watching a show we used to love, some travel series with dramatic music and sweeping drone **TS. She smiled and said we should go to Greece someday. And I smiled back. But all I thought about was the voice memo where she whispered to Trevor we should run away sometime. Maybe somewhere with water. I kept my arm still around her. Let her stay there. It was almost impressive how well she played the part. The next morning I pretended to forget my wallet and turned back halfway to work. She was still home, supposedly on a call with her manager. I parked a few houses down, walked up quietly, and listened through the back door for a minute. She wasn't on a call. She was humming. Setting the table for breakfast, 2 plates. Then her phone buzzed. "Hey," she said softly. "Yeah, I'm alone." She walked toward the sliding glass door. "No, he's gone. I think we're fine." Silence. Then a laugh. "Well, he's not exactly the suspicious type." She didn't see me. I slipped away before she turned. I didn't react that night. I just made dinner like normal and asked her about her day. She said it was exhausting. Too many spreadsheets. I nodded. "Want to go hiking this weekend?" She blinked. "You hate hiking." "I'm trying new things." She smiled, clearly confused. "Okay, yeah. Sure." I added that to my log too. But the first real move came a few days later. Haley had a habit of using her company's credit card for borderline personal expenses, dinners that weren't work-related, gifts, the occasional boutique hotel conference that I now understood wasn't a conference at all. So I sent an anonymous message. I created a new email using a clean, untraceable address. Attached photos of her and Trevor, cropped, discreet, enough to raise questions. Along with time-stamped receipts from one of her training trips that coincided with a romantic weekend in Buckhead. I included one particularly damning image, a copy of a company car usage log that ended at a private hotel suite billed to her corporate card. The message was short and neutral. "Dear compliance team, please review the attached materials. They may reflect conduct in violation of your employee code. All documentation is verifiable. Submitted anonymously for your awareness." That was it. I didn't expect fireworks. I didn't want revenge. I wanted accountability. 2 days later, Haley came home early. Earlier than I'd ever seen her walk through that door on a weekday. She looked off. No makeup. Pale. A cardboard box in her arms full of desk things, photos, a plant, a branded thermos. I was sitting at the kitchen table, pretending to scroll through news. I looked up casually. "You okay?" I asked. She stared at me, eyes wide, as if seeing me for the first time. Yes," she said. They're restructuring." I nodded. Tough timing. She placed the box down and sat, hands trembling. I reached for a folder I'd been keeping by my side, quietly slid it across the table. She looked at it, frowned. "What's this?" "Read it." She opened it. The divorce packet was simple, clean, signed where it needed to be signed. Attached was a list of assets, an outline of next steps, and a personal note I wrote the night I heard her thank Trevor for a magical day. She didn't cry. Not right away. She just sat there. And for the first time in months, I saw something behind her eyes that wasn't performance. It was fear. And she knew then she hadn't been the one in control. Not anymore. The silence after I handed her the folder was almost worse than shouting. Haley stared at the divorce packet like it was written in a language she didn't speak. Her eyes flicked across the first page, then down to the signature line. My signature. I'd written it with a steady hand 2 nights before. No hesitation. No second thoughts. She didn't open the rest of the file. She just sat back in the chair, spine stiff, hands resting on the manila edges like she might somehow close the moment just by shutting it. "Nathan," she said finally, and I noticed for the first time in years that she was using my full name. Not Babe, not Han, not some softened version. Just Nathan. Like I was a stranger across a negotiation table. What is this? I think it's pretty clear, I said, keeping my tone level. You're not the only one who knows how to keep secrets. Her lips parted like she was going to say something, deny, explain, deflect. But instead, she closed her mouth again and looked down at her hands. Her fingers, normally manicured, were chipped. Her polish was faded. I wondered if Trevor noticed details like that. I can explain, she said eventually. Her voice was soft, but I could hear the desperation already setting in. I shook my head. I don't want explanations. I've had enough lies to last a lifetime. I'm just giving you a chance to be honest. Finally, she flinched. I stood up and walked toward the sink, giving her space, letting it sit. I heard her breathe in like she was trying to hold something together. How long have you known? She asked. I turned. Long enough. Long enough to know you weren't coming back to this marriage. Long enough to stop hoping. Her eyes welled up, but I didn't feel anything. No sympathy. No rage. Just this strange, distant clarity. Like I was watching it all from the outside. She wiped at her face, but it didn't matter. I'd already seen everything I needed to see. The next day, I didn't go to work. I stayed home and cleaned. Not just casually, intentionally. I pulled drawers apart, boxed up shared mementos, separated everything into piles, keep, toss. Hers. Mine. There was something ritualistic about it. Like I was scrubbing her presence out of the air, making space for whatever came next. That afternoon, I got a call from my attorney. She spoke plainly. Haley's company reached out. She's been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. Internal audit flagged her for unauthorized expenses and misuse of resources. I didn't say anything for a second. She's going to figure out you had something to do with it, my attorney added. I don't care, I said. And I meant it. That night, she came home late again. This time without the fake smile. No rehearsed lines. Just exhaustion etched into her face. Her eyes scanned the house like she barely recognized it. You cleaned, she said quietly. Needed a reset. She nodded slowly. Then, Nathan. I lost my job. I know. Her face dropped. She stood there, still in her blazer, the same one I once bought her as a gift for a promotion that, apparently, Trevor had helped her get. I watched as she slid out of it like it weighed 100 pounds and dropped it over the back of the couch. Her voice cracked. You sent something to them, didn't you? I sent the truth. They just looked at it. She sank into a chair and put her head in her hands. You don't understand, this isn't just a job. This was my whole career. My network. My future. I sat across from her, elbows on my knees. No, Haley. What I don't understand is how you could do this and still come home to me every night pretending like we were okay. You don't get to talk about futures anymore. We sat in silence again, this heavy, suffocating stillness between us. There was nothing left to protect. No illusion to preserve. Eventually, she whispered, I didn't mean for it to go this far. That's when I laughed. Not loud. Just a single, bitter exhale. They always say that, don't they? She looked at me, eyes shining. Not with love? With regret. Maybe fear. I stood up and walked to the stairs. Dinner's in the fridge, I said. I made enough for both of us. Old habits, I guess. I didn't wait for her response. I just kept climbing, one step at a time, like I was moving further away from who I used to be. The next few days were strange. Haley stayed home, floated through the house like a ghost of herself. She folded laundry that didn't need folding. Cleaned things that were already clean. I'd catch her staring at her phone, waiting for calls that weren't going to come. She tried to talk once or twice. Asked if I'd go to therapy with her. Said we could rebuild. Said she was willing to fight for us. I asked her why she hadn't fought for us before Trevor. Why she didn't think of us when she told him she could lie to me easily. She didn't have answers. Just tears. Too many too late. I wasn't angry. I wasn't cruel. I was just done. One morning I left her a list of things I expected to be packed before the end of the month. I wasn't going to force her out overnight, but I wasn't going to live in limbo either. That same afternoon I received a message on social media from Ashley. We weren't close. Just polite at parties. But her message was short and sincere. Nathan, I'm sorry. I had no idea things had gone this far. If I'd known, I would have told you. Please take care of yourself. That told me everything I needed to know. Even the people who were supposed to be her alibi were falling away. Whatever story she'd built, it was collapsing around her. And for once, I wasn't underneath the rubble. Haley tried to stitch her life back together, but the thread kept snapping. Friends stopped calling. The so-called Ashley weekends disappeared now that Ashley knew the truth. Haley lingered around the house, offering me coffee like nothing had happened, asking if I wanted to talk things out. But there was no fire to put out, just ash. Even her attempts to reclaim normalcy felt hollow. One afternoon, she tried calling the police, said I was emotionally pressuring her. When the officer arrived, I opened my laptop, played the voice memos. He left without another word, just glanced at her and muttered, "Be careful, but not you, her." That night, she didn't come out of the guest room. Whatever she thought she could salvage had already rotted. A week later, I moved into a one-bedroom near work. Small, clean, quiet. No shared closets. No passive-aggressive Spotify playlists humming in the background. Just me, silence, and the steady hum of my own life returning. I started running again. Signed up for a design course. Reconnected with people I'd let drift. There were still moments where I caught myself reaching for her out of habit, like muscle memory that hadn't faded yet, but they passed. The air felt lighter without her in it. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was living in someone else's narrative. I had my own story now, one that began the day I walked away, not from her, but from the illusion I'd been H.